I've casted my fair share of Zerg versus Protoss in StarCraft 2, especially over the last couple of months. I've been really enjoying watching this matchup because it seems to develop quite a lot. One theme I've noticed, especially over the last couple of months, is that, well, Zerg players are very keen on ending the game early. Say, for example, it's a Stargate opener from the Protoss player. Generally speaking, they end up going for a Queen March, right? And just in general, Zerg players right now are playing very aggressively. We're seeing a lot of Queen Marches, like I said, but also Roach Ravager pushes, even Nidus Worm. Even when Zerg players do decide to go for Hive, say, for example, they want to get Vipers out to abduct those Disruptors, they will still usually play quite aggressively and try to prevent the Protoss player from ever establishing a 4th or a 5th base. Now, I don't know what ends up going down in this particular game, but I couldn't help but notice on the replay timer at the very least that this is a bit of a longer one. So we find ourselves in 2000 atmosphere. We have 2 top level players. I'm excited to find out what ends up going down here in what I assume will be, you know, a bit more of a macro-focused game, a bit more of a late-game focus. So spawning here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the Red Zerg drones from South Korea, we have Solar, and his opponent in the opposite corner from the United States of America. We're looking at Astrea's main Nexus. Astrea has been really giving a run for Neep's money, I suppose, right? I mean, Neep, widely considered to be the strongest player from the USA for quite some time. However, recently, over the last year or so, Astrea really has looked very strong. So Astrea, I mean, he's been around for a long time, but at some point he decided to move to Korea. I don't know if he's actually still there, but I know he stayed in Korea for quite some time, and yeah, he's been steadily climbing through the ranks, doing a very good job, just, you know, getting better at playing this video game. And it's cool to see because, I mean, we don't get a whole lot of new names in StarCraft in general, but Astrea, I mean, you can't really call him a new name because he's been around for years already at this point. But yeah, he's definitely, I think it's still considered to be Neep, who's the strongest from the USA, but he's definitely giving Neep a run for his money. I think that's fair to say. Anyways, so let's see. We see the Cybercore coming up, of course. Both players going for fast expense. Solar probably will take the 3rd base here at his natural expansion very shortly as well. Usually right around 30 or so supply, kind of depending on exactly what he's looking to do. We see the Cybernetics core not upgrading Warp Gate, so this is likely going to be a Stargate opener. Alright, so there we go. Astrea decides to pop down the Stargate as early as he possibly can, delaying that Warp Gate upgrade for at least a little while. We do see 1 Chrono right here going down on the gateway as well, so that's going to pop out that Adept nice and early. Is he going to go for a 2nd Adept? He will, but apparently is going to be hanging out right over here in the Wall-Off. He did put the Pylon right here in a bit of a curious position. Maybe that's specifically, like, there's definitely intention by that, or behind that, right? Maybe he's done that specifically to deal with 12 pools, right? 12 pools are still very common, especially in Korea. A lot of the Koreans do like to play a little bit more aggressively. Maybe that's why that Pylon is so far forward. Either way, can he grab a drone? He's looking for one. Can he get it? Oh, nope, he won't. 3rd base was already acquired here as well for Solar. So forced to take the 3rd base first. It puts him in a bit more of a defensive position. Obviously, he's forced to have Zerglings as well as a Queen in either of the 2 bases that he can defend at this point. Just because, I mean, without Zergling speed, it's quite difficult to actually defend to both of them. Overlord is going to fly in right now. And it will, well, it will meet its demise over here. Of course, that Void Ray is going to pop out and instantly kill it. There you go, Prismatic Alignment already activated. At the very least, the Oracle Scout right now gets, or the Oracle follow-up rather, gets scouted here as well by Solar, so he knows what he's in for. Decided to go for 2 more Overlords. And now he is going to be able to continue droning here very shortly. Okay, so I would say 9 times out of 10 at the professional level, this is the opener that we see on both sides. And I think maybe 8 times out of 10, okay? As the follow-up goes, Zerg players like to go for a Queen push. So generally speaking, what you do right now as a Zerg player, well, maybe not 8 times out of 10, because I guess it's losing a little bit of popularity because Protoss players are getting better at defending it, but very, very commonly what we see right now is Zerg players making a bunch of Queens and then marching them towards the other side of the map. Knowing that this game is a bit of a longer one, I doubt that that is what Solar ends up going for, because usually that push will, you know, it will determine what ends up going down, right? So wait, where did the Oracle go? Oracle, sorry, went into the natural expansion right there. I didn't notice it. For what it's worth, Solar didn't notice it either, because he... Oh, wow. Well, now you have to go for the Queen March, don't you? He killed the Void Ray. You don't? Maybe not. He doesn't queue up any more Queens. Instead, he decides to go, yeah, the Roach Warren is kind of late, I guess. Not super late, though. Could still definitely pull it off. So it seems to me that if Protoss plays a perfect early game, the queen push is very strong. However, if Protoss messes up in any way, shape, or form, and losing your biggest unit is obviously a big deal, you definitely have a hard time holding those queen pushes, right? So maybe Solar is looking at this though. He's like, okay, I went for a lair already. I started it up. He's gone for a Roach Warren relatively late as well. If you want to go for a queen push, usually you build it slightly earlier. He's going 5 gases right now, so I don't think he's really planning on... No, I don't think he's really planning on going for a queen much, but I do think it's definitely a build that is very, very difficult for Protoss players to deal with. Alright. Overseer Scout right... Well, he's going to try and morph the Overseer. Overlord Scout right now is going to confirm the follow-up here from Astrea. So it's going to be the Twilight Council right now into the Forge as well. I like this. This is the common follow-up that we see quite a lot. There's already a Robo at the front. More gateways are coming up. Templar Archives is coming up as well. So even though we had a Stargate opener, right, he's leveraging that towards the third base. And now he's going to follow it up with a bit more of a ground focus mid-game. So 6 additional gateways are coming up. How many do we already have? Okay, he's going to go up to 10 gateways on 3 bases. That does allow him to go for some aggression if he really wants to, but most importantly, he can defend a lot of those Zerg timing attacks quite effectively. So for a long time, right, it was Protoss that was forced to make a move, because Zerg had this unit composition that Protoss players couldn't really deal with. Right, so Broodlord Infestor, most notably, was very, very strong. Oh, okay. It was very, very strong, and Protoss players had to try and, you know, end the game before Zerg managed to get towards that very gas-heavy composition. So usually, it seemed like Protoss players wanted to get aggressive to try and prevent it from getting to that point. These days, though, I think that the late game is considered to be slightly Protoss favored. Depending on how good you are at the game. I mean, if you watch Serral play, or Dark play, or Rogue play, or Raynor play, right, they make it look relatively doable. But for pretty much everyone else out there, and I think I include Solar in that as well, even though Solar is one of the very best Zerg players in the world. Yeah, most of the Zerg players don't really enjoy playing the late game too much, because that Protoss army is very strong. So the meta really has shifted over the last 2 years or so from Protoss being forced to make a move to Zerg being forced to make a move. In this game, though, I mean, Solar is playing straight up. So he's going for a Hive right now very quickly. That was like a, what, like 6 minutes and 50 seconds Hive right there. Lurker then comes up. He's just playing Roach Ravager into, I guess, Hydra Lurker right now. Maybe add on a couple of Vipers as well going forward. This is not really, a very common play that we see right now from Zerg players. It's like I said, that aggressive style is usually what we see, but... Astrea right now not really doing anything out of the ordinary. He's playing a Stargate opener, like I said. Well, maybe he can get an Archon. That'd be nice. And he's got obviously a lot of gateways. Roaches and Ravagers are coming up right now. He does have force fields available. Yep, nice force field right there on the ramp. That's going to slow down the progression here. Blink is not done yet here for these Stalkers, so it's going to be a bit tricky at the very least for Astrea to chase this down. But with 10 gateways... yeah, you can warp in plenty of reinforcements to deal with this. At the same time, though, okay, big warp in over at the third base of the Zerg player. I like this move from Astrea. Decides to target fire down the hatchery for just a little bit, but it's going to be difficult to pull that one off. I don't know. A lot of Zealots right there were working on the gas there for a second. 6 drones in total. At the same time, the rest of that Protoss army is now moving on over towards the 4th base of the Zerg. Viper's coming up, though, and here's that dreaded upgrade for Zergs. The +1 flyer attacks is coming up right now as well for Astrea. So we have 4 base versus 4 base. Roach, Hydra, Viper, it seems, with obviously their evolutions as well added into the mix. Going up against a gateway-based army right now for Protoss, but there it is. The Fleet Beacon comes up, and 2 additional Stargates here as well for the American Protoss player. Creep spread looking quite mediocre, to be honest. If I can be critical. For someone who has been left alone for quite some time, I think that Solar definitely could have had that creep out a little bit further. It's not the biggest of deals in this matchup, but it obviously helps. There is a Viper right now, and he does have a couple of anti-air units, so maybe he can abduct that Prism. I think that's exactly what the plan is. Yep, there's 2 Hydras. Does he have enough abductions, though? Because I think he might actually need a couple. I don't think he can abduct it here fully, can he? There we go. Whoop. It reaches. Nah, he needs another one. Yep. Alright. So that is the prism taken care of. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, though, Astrea isn't thinking about warping in any more ground units. At this point, apparently, the age of the ground army is mostly gone for. So one change I have noticed in these late game armies is that Protoss players seem to be less and less fond of going for High Templar for some reason. A lot of that army right now seems to be based around that, you know, air-based force, right? So you go for the Stargate units, but then you also add on Disruptors instead. Okay. So Disruptors are... Yeah, there's... I don't know. I feel like High Templar are still a good choice. I guess they're a little bit easier to get out and a little bit easier to defend ground-based armies with in general. But High Templar obviously have the advantage when you use Psionic Storm, right? Is that you can deal damage to those Zerg air units too, right? Which is nice, because usually a Corruptor follow-up is very common. But then obviously one other addition as well is that you get yourself that feedback ability that's really good against those Zerg casters. Okay, here's one Viper randomly flying to its grave there. Not quite what you're looking for. And even though there are a couple of lurkers here underneath, I don't think I see enough anti-air to really deal with this, do I? Nah. He's gonna be forced to back off. At the same time, another base has been acquired right now by Astrea. Zerg also has taken this base right here on the right side. Sonic Storm here as a follow-up. More carriers coming up. +2 flyer attacks here as well for Astrea. Okay, and this is kind of what I expected from the game when I saw the duration, because, I mean, usually with those big aggressive pushes, right, someone's gonna get the advantage and then the game kind of ends a couple minutes later. But in this particular game, I don't think either of these two players really has an advantage. I guess one thing worth noting here is that Astrea is sitting at 86 probes. That's a lot of workers for this stage in the game. Actually, it's a lot of workers for any stage in the game for Protoss, it seems. Although Protoss, I mean, they used to play mostly around 70 or so probes. Maybe 80 every once in a while. It seems like Protoss have slowly started adding on more and more workers. It means, though, that like half the total supply of the Protoss is, you know, probes and observers and whatnot. Zealots to go into this base, I guess, but yeah. It's not gonna happen, Mr. Lurker. Even though you can run, you cannot hide. He doesn't even need to see you, dude. Observer wasn't needed. All right, now this is a scary Protoss army, though. So, are there any High Templar? I saw him getting stormed, but no, he didn't actually make any High Templar yet. No, he did. Oh my god, I'm blind as bad. There is a High Templar, or a group of High Templar right now joining this army. Ultralisk Cavern comes up, Spire comes up as well for Zerg, Adrenal Glands. Zealots are gonna go in here, but there's plenty to deal with those. Yeah, and I think we're gonna get to the point, right? And this is what seems to happen a lot in these late games, right? So we've kind of arrived at late game right now. Where both players are just happily sitting behind a ton of static defense, right? It's gonna be difficult to push in. Now, this is nice. Those Disruptors. I guess maybe that's the reason. Disruptors with their Purification Novas can deal damage to Spore Crawlers as well as Spines, right? And Storm doesn't really do that very effectively. Anyways, oftentimes in the late games, we see these scenarios pop up where neither player really wants to fight without their static defense. Ooh, the High Templar actually coming in from that little nuke over there. I love it. Nicely done. This is a difficult army to control right now for Astrea, though. You need, like, different hotkeys for everything. Base at the 9 o'clock position also acquired right now, and he's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases in, where Zerg is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases in. So economically speaking, Astrea is ahead right now. Plus, I mean, he's got a big bank. Plus, he's got good upgrades. Plus, he's playing Protoss. Now, I do want to warn you guys. I mean, you probably noticed by now, but I play mostly Zerg myself. I'm currently sitting right around, I think, like rank 130, 140 or so on the GM ladder on the NA server playing Zerg. So I might be a little bit biased when it comes to this late game, okay? I mean, I try and be an objective caster, and I know it bothers some people when I give you my opinion on things, but, you know, I play a lot of StarCraft, and I know how difficult this late game can be to play. Okay, here come the abductions. Nicely done. What is he building right now? Oh my god, Astrea is building the wall! Like a true patriot! Look at him! Can we make jokes about that yet? Is anyone gonna get offended? Look at this guy! He's late game cannon rushing. His does it still count as a rush if it's in the late game? We're 15 minutes into it and he's building that wall. Build that. Okay, sorry. Why is he gunning down his own shield battery? Is that just to assert dominance? I'm not entirely sure. Oh my god. Okay. This is actually kind of cool. This is not something we normally see at this stage in the game. Such aggressive positioning right here by Astrea. And that also indeed explains the Disruptors. So the Disruptors right now, oh my god, together with the High Templar, as well as the Static Defense, this is a relatively small amount of supply, and it's going to be able to get rid of pretty much any Zerg army here. Right? I think Brute Lords might be a good addition here, but Lurkers aren't going to cut it. Any ground-based army really isn't going to cut it here for Zerg. Huh. Nicely done. Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that's the Disruptors. I kind of like it. Nicely done. Yeah, the Disruptors aren't very common, it seems. Like, most of the players right now are focusing still on High Templar, but High Templar and Disruptors? It depends on how many hands you have. One thing that's already established, though, is that in general, pro gamers seem to have at least 3 of them. I only have 2 myself, so I have a hard time microing all of this. So does Solar, though. But, yeah, this is kind of cool. So we have this army over here guarding the right side of the map, and then we have the actual, like, Skytles force on the other side of the map, trying to establish as much as possible. Now, this base apparently was killed. I've been blabbering onwards a lot, not really paying very close attention to the game, but... Well, I mean, I've been paying close attention to the game, but not the mini-map. Sometimes I may miss a little engagement. I'm just a one-man production team. Prism is going to try and get into the main base. That's a very ambitious little project, but I guess if it works, you can warp in a bunch of zealots. That is nice. Here comes the carrier hit squad, though. So this is a carrier hit squad. Oh, god. Oh, what? Okay. Guess his eyes were on the other side of the map. That was awkward. Very awkward move right there. Okay. Yeah, his eyes were, I guess, on the other side of the map. Ultras are coming up. So it seems like the magic number of Ultras at this stage in the game is about 3, 4, or 5. So it's not a misclick. It's just that, so the idea in theory, right, is that Zerg will kill all of these High Templar. Okay, if we take it like one step back. Mass Corruptor and Mass Hydra actually do fairly well against Protoss air units. The main issue where they struggle is against either the High Templar or the Disruptors. So the idea is that if you get like a bunch of Zerglings and maybe some Banelings and maybe some Ultras into the mix, right? And you can kill those Protoss ground units, killing the air army is going to be much easier. So that's why we see Ultras here added into the mix. I know some people look at that and they still think it's a bit of a meme, but that's not what it is, right? The Ultras are really good at zoning this army as well, because the High Templar obviously can't really go very far forward when the Ultras are out. And yeah, they're good units. They're really quite nice in the late game. There seems to be a key at the very least when it comes to dismantling this type of army here from Astrea. Now, what exactly is Astrea trying to do? Well, Astrea first off is bowling over here. So he's just happily bowling down whatever static defense he can find. But he's also trying to mine out his side of the map. So, is he going to engage this? I don't know if he can, dude. This is a scary army. I think you need brutes in order to deal with this. Most of the time, assuming both players played really well, and they mine an even amount of... Okay, so most of the time, the late game armies trade more efficiently for Protoss. Meaning that, say both armies are made up out of, well, we can see it right here, 7,000 minerals right now for solar and 5,000 gas, 5,800. Astrea's army should, theoretically speaking, trade a little bit more efficiently than that of the Zerg. So his entire move right now is just to try and mine his side of the map, because if he mines 50% of the resources available on this particular map, and the Zerg does also mine 50% of the resources, he then trades efficiently, right? Which is usually what Protoss end up doing. He'll win the game, right? So his theory right now is to not really do that much. He's mostly just trying to mine out his side of the map. So that's why he's being relatively passive. Man, he's building a ton of photon cannons. Look at this. I mean, it's not a straight wall, but he's got a lot of units, that's for sure. This is kind of cool, man. So this small hit squad over here of Disruptors and the High Templar, as well as obviously these, you know, photon cannons over here. Look at this. They have taken care of an entire Zerg base. It's taken about, I would say, 8 minutes or so. But it's getting there. Yeah, so High Templar don't deal damage against structures. But Disruptors do. And now the Zealots can go in. Huh. Nice little Hydra hit squad over here, though. We saw this one coming up earlier as well. It's already gotten rid of a bunch of the things right here in the natural expansion. Maybe this opens up the opportunity for Zerg to go in that direction, but not quite. Alright. Couple of water balloons right now being thrown at Brenda. Poor Brenda, man. Okay, the High Templar, though, feeling very ambitious. Yeah, you can see that these two players here are struggling a little bit as well, right? With controlling this perfectly. Can't blame him. This is very difficult to control well. But yeah, even at this level, we still see a bunch of mistakes being made on both sides. Anyways, double Robo Bay coming up right now in 2 different locations. Dark Shrine also being built. Zealots looking to finish the job over here. If Protoss can, by the way, grab one of the Zerg bases, that would be phenomenal, right? If he can grab one of the bases here, that's normally the Zergs, with that cost efficiency in the late game added into the mix, that would be pretty nice. Now, usually, once the bases are mined out, what we see is both players giving up their worker count. Obviously, Zerg has the big advantage in the late game that they can use up their workers to become Spore Crawlers instead, right? So the Spore Crawlers, obviously, are going to be really, really helpful units. Probes, though, may have to be sacrificed after everything is mined out. The Skytools army is right now on the right side of the map. Maybe this opens up the opportunity for Solar to go in for a move over here, but... I mean, this hit squad over here, we've seen that before, but then on the opposite end of the map. Yeah, it's instead going to be flying on over in this direction. Solar is looking to take a fight on top of Spore Crawlers, which helps out a lot when it comes to dealing with those interceptors. Ultra. Not made for this world. It's going to be floating up towards the surface. A couple of observers over here. So the ultimate Zerg late game army is usually something based around Corruptor Viper, right? And then you also want to try and add on a couple of Infestors to micro that well. Because, you know, all of the Zerg spellcasters have a lot of value. The thing is, though, you also need, like, actual fighting units, right? So either Ultras, or Brute Lords, or Hydras, or Lurkers. There's a bunch of different units you can go for, but the core is usually this type of army. The problem that most Zerg players run into is that they only have 2 hands, and it's very difficult to control properly. So if you look right now at the actions per minute, yeah, you can see that Solar has had an average actions per minute right now of about 400. If you compare that to the speed at which, like, Serral plays at this stage in the game, who probably has the best late game, Serral is actually quite a bit faster than that. Like, Serral is... I mean, the repeat rates and stuff, you have to take that into account. It's not actual actions per minute, because... Yeah, there's the probe sacrifice. It's not actual actions per minute in the same way that we would say that is in, for example, StarCraft 1. But yeah, it's just an observation over here that Serral does seem to play around like 5, sometimes even 600 average actions per minute, especially in the late game. Tempests have been added into the mix, okay? I think theoretically, and I've said this before in a previous cast, I think theoretically the late game is in favor of Zerg. Assuming both players have infinite actions per minute, or, you know, 1,000 actions per minute, right? Say it's limited to 1,000 actions per minute. I think Zerg probably is ever so slightly favored. That being said, these players are still human. So, like, because of human limitations, mechanical limitations, that is, as far as, like, the actions per minute goes, this type of army is extremely difficult to control. The same can be said as well for this Protoss army. So, microing this type of army perfectly is very difficult. You need to have the carriers on a separate hotkey, Disruptors on a separate hotkey, High Templar on a separate hotkey, Oracles need to use their Revelation ability, and then obviously the Tempests have to go in separately as well. Sometimes the Mothership is like a piece of the puzzle as well. The Protoss like to add in, and that one also needs a separate hotkey group. It's just that, you know, if both armies are not microed, Protoss is 100% going to win. However... Yeah, I think playing, I've said this before too, but I think that really kind of like explains it the best. I think playing this sort of army at 80% efficiency is about 50 APM, and playing this army at about 80% efficiency is about like, I don't know, 300 APM. Now that might be some bias, right? That might be some bias, but at least that's my personal experience playing both sides of the pie. Playing both armies at 100% efficiency though requires a ton of actions, and it's very, very difficult. Okay, so these disruptors have been fantastic. The static defense is helping out a ton. Even a couple Dark Templar right now warped in for the base defense. Shadow Stride is coming up, which is one of the few abilities that Protoss did not yet have. Can we have a quick look actually at upgrades? +3 melee isn't acquired yet. I think that would be helpful. +3 flyer upgrades as well as the shield upgrades aren't done yet for the Protoss. Would not mind seeing those coming up. So Blizzard buffed the Tempest a little while ago, so they would be much better at dealing with static defense, right? Dealing with the spore crawlers. And for a while, that's what Protoss has tried to do, but it's unreliable and difficult to pull off. The Disruptors seem to do a much better job when it comes to cleaning up those spores, right? I like it. Anyways, Zerglings and Ultras moving on over towards the natural expansion. Main base of the Protoss is very exposed, but this is even... yeah, this is not even that important anymore for a Protoss player right now. I mean, this is obviously not something you want to lose for free, but it's something he can lose without really too many repercussions. He could rebuild, for example, with, like, you know, a lot of stuff over here, which is covered by a ton of static defense. The alternative right now would be building that much static defense over at the natural expansion, and I don't really think that's worth it. You could build over here, though. Wouldn't mind seeing that. Anyways, I think the real action is going on over here. Okay. Good fungal growths, though. Good abductions as well. Grabs a couple of those Protoss Sky units once again. Nice moves right there by Solar. Solar at the same time is also destroying the opponent's main base. Recall is being forced on at least part of that Protoss Skytles army. So he's gonna save this for the time being, but I feel like it is on a timer if he's not gonna double down on defending this area. And I don't know if it's worth spending like lots of money. I mean, you could... you know what? Walling this in entirely would actually not be bad. Anyways, noticing that part of that Skytles army, though, is in the meantime on the other side of the map. Zerg is trying to capitalize on it. Battery overcharge, though, getting a whole lot of work done there. And the Tempests right now are trying to pick up a couple of the units on the retreat. Nice control here by both players, though. You can see that the worker counts is slowly starting to go down, as there's just not that many mineral patches to mine anymore. If the entire map mines out, I would love to see 200 supply armies going up against 200 supply armies. That'd be fun. We don't see that very often at all. But if there's no mineral patches to mine and not really a whole lot of structures to build, there's no particular reason to still have a lot of workers out. Okay. Now, the Zerg army is way more mobile, right? Yeah, look at this. The Zerg army way faster. A couple of carriers get picked off right now, too. This carrier is just rallied into the middle of nowhere. Nicely done. Protoss trying to capitalize after noticing that that Zerg army was gone by pushing into the base. Still a difficult move to make, though, because there's a lot of spore crawlers here in general. Corruptors are going to be able to make their way back home. Yeah, maybe giving up this position is not a terrible move. By the way, Astrea has taken one of the bases that's normally the Zergs. I pointed that out earlier, that it would be big, and Astrea has managed it. Look at the bank as well. Oh my god, I wasn't even really looking at the bank yet. This man has got so much money. He's rich. Ay, ay, ay. Astrea getting to the point where he's so rich he doesn't even need to pay taxes anymore. Woof. Some very creative bookkeeping right here. Anyways, we do see the Zerglings running into the main base too. And these +3 Zerglings? +2 Zerglings! No! Alright, well. These are Zerglings at the very least with adrenal glands. They're getting a lot of work done. Getting rid of some of the Stargates too. Okay, fungal growth. Parasitic bombs right there actually on that main army as well. Storms are going to be able to try and zone away this army. Good storms right there by Astrea, man. Forcing those infestors as well as the corruptors and the vipers to back off. Ooh, that just barely allows Astrea to get back to the safety of the static defense over here. Nicely done. New Stargates are being built all the way in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. I like it. Yeah, just give up the main base. I mean, you don't have to give it up, but like, you know, don't focus on the defense too much. And go around, right? Try and get some work done. The high-yield gases, by the way, yeah, have been taken on both sides. They mine out very quickly. Oh, look at that. Mass caustic spray right now instead of the main base here of the Protoss player. Trying to finish the job. A couple of Stalkers with +3, though. Don't mess around. Carriers are trying to leave this army alone. I would love to see the Brute Lords going in right now on that base. Yeah, he's trying to do that as well, but Brute Lords are so slow. Brute Lords are so slow. Okay. 58 probes remain. Slowly but surely, the amount of workers here is going down. Protoss right now, though, has decided that this is the moment to fight over here. Spore Crawler's not quite burrowed yet. Beautiful feedbacks right there as well by Astrea, trying to zone this army out. Here come the Disruptors trying to hunt after those Infestors. Infestors, though, were running just barely in time. Zerglings at the same time, though, together with an Ultralisk, have made their way towards that base on the right side of the map. Spore Crawlers over here are being killed. I think that this expansion actually may be in a little bit of trouble as well. Man, Astrea is playing this incredibly. He is, well, here's a neural parasite, but that's not really working out too well. Astrea is doing a really good job. Like, normally it's the Zerg that has, like, a bank advantage at this stage in the game, but Astrea is, yeah, way ahead when it comes to that, right? Like, we can look right here at the army value, right? So Zerg's army value right now is not even remotely... Like, his bank does not really allow him to rebuild his army, is what I'm trying to say. It's not even remotely in the same ballpark. Protoss here able to rebuild their army twice. That's a lot. He's not done mining yet either. Bottom right base was acquired quite late, so there's still some money in that one. Plus he just killed one of the expansions here of the Zerg. Apparently those Sol are not bothering remaking the hatchery right now, just long distance mines this expansion instead. There's still some mineral patches remaining. The Zealots right now warped in too. It's like 1,000 minerals worth of Zealots. You can't do that too many times, but these Zealots actually are very difficult to deal with. The Zerglings, though, don't mess around. Okay, one Lurker now also comes up over here. Abductions, okay, nice moves right there by Solar. Okay, here come the Brute Lords trying to get some work done. The Brute Lords are biting their way right now through all of the static defense here. Zealots over there have been halted as well, at least for now. Tempest, though, using their, Oracles right there, using their Revelation ability, allowing the Tempest to get into a good spot. Brute Lords decide to back off here for just a little bit. You don't want to go too deep. Yeah, we do see the tag once again coming up. Big Zealot warp in over here. Oh my god, does Astrea really use the Diva announcer? I know he's been playing over in Korea for a long time, and I know a lot of the Koreans play with the Diva announcer, but... Alright. Dude, what's going on here right now? These probes are like, why won't you let me die? Okay, fine, I'll take your workers instead. Here come more probes. Oh man, we're getting to the point where there are going to be very few workers actually left over for the Protoss player. Expansion over here will be killed, though. The main resource that is important for both players, though, is gas. And even though Astrea might be able to finish up the minerals of this expansion, both of the Vespian gas geysers are empty. Good job right there by Astrea, zoning his army very effectively. The Great Wall worked out well for him. Man, I really love that little... Like, I've never seen anyone do that before. Like, a hit squad of photon cannons, static defense, right, in general. And then... Disruptors together with High Templar, keeping that massive army at base, slowly killing a Zerg base over the course of, like, a long time. Really nice. Okay. Revelations once again coming up. Good abductions here, man. Solar's doing a phenomenal job abducting his army. Both players, by the way, now down to 20-something workers. Zerglings and an Ultra once again inside of the main base. A couple of Void Rays, though, left over from earlier are going to try and prevent them from killing too much. Oh, Neural Parasite being utilized as well. Killing... Oh my god, are you seeing this? So he Neural Parasited the carrier to then try and target fire down some of the High Templar. I love it. Nicely done. All right. It's getting down to the absolute final resources, though. Pretty much every expansion has been mined out. Once again, dude, I have seen so many carriers go down for pretty much free this game. It's been, oh, God, no! Oh, that's so good! Oh, my God! That is phenomenal right there for Astrea. He got all of the infestors. 11 new ones immediately get produced again. 31 infestors have gone down. 19 High Templar. Both players losing a tremendous amount of money. But Astrea losing ever so slightly less. And he's been mining ever so slightly more than his opponent. Well, I say ever so slightly. It adds up to apparently about 20,000 resources of difference at this stage in the game as far as the bank goes. Oh, he lost. He lost the Templar archives inside of the main base. Alright, I think 2,000 atmospheres is going to be mined out. Abduction right there on the Oracle, okay. Here come the infestors. The new ones, that is. The Great Wall over here still taking control of this area of the map. Is it even worth building a hatch over here? So there's about 3,000 minerals or so remaining on that expansion. So I guess it's worth building, like, you know, a hatchery worth right now. The income for both players, though, is looking quite bad, right? No gas income whatsoever. So the gas bank is really the important one to keep in mind right now. These kind of moves are quite nice. Yep, getting on a High Templar. Not a big deal is what it seems, but... Astrea should really remax. I don't know why he's sitting at 176. Probably too busy looking over here. Carriers take a long time to rebuild. Do you think he's not noticing it? Probably not. Oh, grabs another Brute Lord. Nicely done. Maybe he's actually trying to open up some supply, yeah. Maybe he's actually trying to purposely not have too much supply available so he can do a big Zealot warp in like that to actually kill these expansions over here. Nicely done. Zealot run-bys right now into the main base of the Zerg would be really nice as well. We've seen Solar desperately trying to shut down the tech of the Protoss. But the Protoss not really doing so to Solar just yet. I mean, if you can kill the Hive, and like this is the money warp in over here, right? This is gonna take like 20 minutes. Okay, no, more like 10 minutes or so to rebuild. Regardless, it's something that Solar can't really afford losing at this stage in the game, because he's only at 1,500 minerals and 1,500 gas. Slowly bleeding out. Disruptors once again, man. How many 57 spore crawlers in total. Okay, 21 photon cannons. Okay, as soon as he tried moving on over towards the bottom right-hand corner, some of the spore crawlers here were left to their own devices, and that means that the Protoss army moves forward. Astrea is playing Solar like a fiddle so far. He still has to be very careful, though. One good hit, for example, with these infestors, right? Neuroparasiting part of this army, or a couple more abductions here. This Zerg army can definitely win a straight-up battle against this Protoss. He wants to engage him at a location where there's no static defense. Solar, that is. So that's why he's trying to, like, force him to move into another spot. Okay. Another Void Ray for free. Here we go, Prismatic Alignment activated. Parasitic Bomb comes up as well, so a lot of these Protoss units are going to be softened for quite some time. Good fungal growths over there as well. A couple of the High Templar, though, do let feedbacks. Here come the Disruptors once again, trying to use their Purification Nova. Not quite going to happen so far. Okay, good fight right here for Solar. This is why Astrea has been playing so cautiously, right? Once again, backs off to the safety of those shield batteries and photon cannons. Trying to replenish those shields. Parasitic Bomb deals 120 damage, which is a lot. However, carriers have 150 shields. So if you... if you don't actually deal any base damage to the carriers, they'll be back full health very soon. For comparison's sake, Sonic Storm deals 80 damage. So Scythe Storm, I mean, it hits ground and air, obviously, but it deals 80 damage. Parasitic Bomb, again, 120. So those Vipers have been super important. There's only been a couple of them, but these guys have been super important for the Zerg. He's going very infestor heavy, though. Yeah, he's going up to 17 investors here very soon. He's investing in infestors. Nicely done. Couple more minerals remaining over here. Expansion on the right side, though. Once more denied by the Protoss. And Protoss is now going to try and build a base there. Brute Lords, though, they're trying to move on over in this direction. Okay. So, right now, the Zerg army is really split up. Is this an army that can fight the Protoss one straight on, though? I'm not sure. Without the Brute Lords here, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work out. Okay, nicely done once again by Astrea. The Brute Lords, though, are getting rid of the Great Wall. Oh, no. The Zerg was supposed to pay for this wall, not the Protoss. Hello. I was promised that the Zerg was going to pay for this. Oh, maybe they are paying for it, actually, indirectly. He's losing a couple of expansions up in the top left corner. A couple of Void Rays have also moved on over in this direction. They're very fast, obviously. Queens are here. Corruptors are here, too, though. If this ends up with a weird base race, that would be kind of fun. Yeah, I was going to say, like, Solar is realizing what's going on right now. Okay, Fungal Growth once again comes up. Slows down the advancement here of this Protoss army. Loses another infestor, though. Solar has just spent his bank. This is the last Corruptor I think he's building. I mean, he's slowly getting a very small amount of income. I mean, he's building about, or he's getting about 139 minerals a minute right now. So this is starting to become a very, very costly army to replace. It's also where you can see that Solar is starting to behave a little bit more desperately right now. Pushing much more aggressively into those photon cannons and into the Protoss army in general. Grabs a couple of units. Once again, very nice abductions over there. Gets himself 2 of those carriers once more. Problem is, though, Astrea at this point, problem for the Zerg player, that is, still has a ton of money. So he's going to be able to replace these units as well if he wants to. I mean, he could just warp in gateway units at this point, too, right? Probably not what you're looking for, though. Okay, good move right here by Solar, though. Making the best of his army at this point. These infestors are happily looking for Neural Parasite. Okay, there's Neural Parasite coming up. Not quite gonna get that much done once again. Ugh. Another 4 or so infestors get picked off. At this point, though, with all of the High Templar mostly gone and most of the Archons also not present, he decides to jump on top of this entire Protoss force. Corruptors are desperately trying to target fire down all of these carriers. Couple of... oh my god, is he actually cleaning this up? Couple of the Archons were dealing a tremendous amount of damage here, but look at that. Solar, with a much smaller army supply, is actually cleaning up this Protoss army. Oh my god, Solar, no way. At the same time, Zealots have moved on over towards the natural expansion of the Zerg player. Protoss needs a lot of time right now to rebuild. But I don't know if he's gonna have it. I mean, this is mostly Brute Lords, right? The Brute Lords are gonna be super important when it comes to cleaning up these Protoss bases. I do not know why Astrea is not rebuilding out of these Sky units. Like, out of these Stargates. Like, why is he... Okay, he decides to just warp in mass ground? Is that what he's doing? Whoa, 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 whoa. I guess that makes sense. So, he knows that pretty much all of the Zerg army supply right now is caught up in 20 Corruptors. So, if you can make just Stalkers and get underneath the Brute Lords, that's how you win? Is that really the move he's going for? Like, that's why he's not producing out of the Stargates, I'm pretty sure. Gotta be very careful, though. These infestors with fungal growths can get so much damage done. He decides to go for a couple of oracles. Yeah, it's definitely intentional. He's waiting for warp-ins. Okay, Stalkers. Ooh, blink underneath this Corruptor force. Nicely done right here. And that means that it's mostly Brute Lords remaining right now. 1 worker, by the way, for Solar. 8 probes for Astrea. Man, Astrea still has so much money in the bank. I can't believe he's playing this so slowly, man. I would be so desperate in spending my entire army, or sorry, like spending all of my money here trying to rebuild. Okay, here he goes. He decides to blink underneath some of the Brute Lords at the very least. Grabs 1 of them, 2 of them. Can he get the 3rd one? He will. Stalkers are not going to be able to blink when they have fungal on them, but it looks like he's picking off the Brutes 1 at a time. And if it's only Brute Lords remaining, there is nothing that Solar can do to get rid of all of those structures. He knows that Astrea must still have some money hiding somewhere because he's taken one of the Zerg bases a long time ago. And eventually, it is Astrea who obtains the victory. He played a really good game. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. For now, though, thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Don't forget to smile. And I'll see you once again in the next one.